Welcome to Beyond the Mask. Today we welcome back a familiar and fearless voice, Yana Krmic. She's been on this show before, challenging assumptions and pushing boundaries, and now she's back with a bold new book that's already sparking conversations across the country. It's called Who Really Leads Anesthesia Care, and it cuts straight to the heart of one of the most important and often misunderstood questions in our field. Who gives the anesthesia? In this episode, Yana walks us through her research, her lived experience, and the cultural and clinical dynamics that continue to shape or distort the narrative around anesthesia. This isn't just a book launch. It's a call to rethink power, collaboration, and credibility in the OR.
CRNA Financial Planning is a sponsor of Beyond the Mask podcast, investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group. Nothing in this podcast should be construed as investment advice. Plus, did you know listening to our podcast can earn you Class B credits? For details on how to submit, visit the CE credit section at beyondthemaskpodcast.com. Welcome to Beyond the Mask, innovation and opportunities for CRNAs and advanced practice nurses, with certified financial planner Jeremy Stanley and CRNA Sharon Pierce. Jeremy Stanley has worked with CRNAs for more than 23 years, and Sharon Pierce is a former president of the AANA and the NCANA. Join us as we leave the operating room and learn the latest in the CRNA and advanced practice nurse industries. Beyond the Mask starts in 10, 9, 8, 7.
So welcome, Yana.
Thank you.
So did I do all right in the intro?
You did great. I mean, you make it so easy for me. You make it so easy for me. I don't really need to say much.
So, Yana, for our listeners who may not know who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And we have a whole episode on Yana. I need to look back and see which episode it is and link it.
My whole life story that I just went through from being, growing up in Siberia all the way to how I got here.
Yeah.
Immigrant off the boat, succeeded.
Learning how to speak English from the I Love Lucy show.
Exactly, yeah. And I Love Lucy was my favorite. And I think the book itself is my testament to myself that I can actually produce something and write in English as a second language, as somebody, as an immigrant that is so passionate about the culture, about this country, about what we stand for as a profession. So to be able to kind of transcribe that and put that on paper and do the research and kind of combine everything, the rich history that we have and the current challenges that we're facing and where we're going forward. I think that was my inspiration. And again, going back to the importance that I've said that previously on your podcast about my story, right? Believing in that story. And that book is the production and a hard labor of my story the way I see it. And I think that as an immigrant, you have that responsibility almost.
This is kind of a side question, but I ask everybody this question who are bilingual. What language do you think in?
I think in English.
Okay. Most of them will say that. I ask everybody that. Start doing that to your patients.
Yes, and it started probably in my 5th year in the country. Mm-hmm. They say, linguistics or people that study languages, they say when you start dreaming in the foreign language, the language that you're learning, is when you truly kind of took on that culture, took on the language, took on the...
Well, that's going to be my next question to bilingual people, but I ask everybody that.
It's amazing. And now, my mother, shout out to my mom. My mom actually gets really frustrated with me when I speak English back, and she still wants me to keep that beauty of the Russian language, because despite what's happening in the world between Ukraine and Russia, we all speak Russian language, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a language of Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. And of course, this book is not anywhere close to being that, but it's in a different language.
Well, say something to us in Russian.
Приятно, очень приятно быть здесь сегодня.
He just cussed you out right now.
I don't know. Yeah. It did sound beautiful. I don't for some reason I don't expect Russian to be a beautiful language, but
it can sound beautiful. It has its very harsh, depending on how you say it. When I yell at my dog, I yell at Russian. And it's funny. My husband always makes fun of me.
So your dog is bilingual?
No. He speaks English, but I decide to yell at him in Russian.
I'm sure he's picked up some words, some curse words.
So my kids pick up that too.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I think that, my story is my story, and I'm still learning it. And I say this to myself every day. The power is in your story, the power of what you believe in. And I think this book is largely to how I see it, what I've witnessed from my rich experience in the operating room, from tremendous amount of the truth that is not told to the public, that is inadvertently discouraging our members and those that are coming into the profession. And as we are meeting at Congress now, I hear that there's going to be a large number of nurses, registered nurses, and advanced practice providers, advanced practice nurses other than CRNAs attending the Congress. So this book is tailored for them to read and understand not only our rich history and where we're coming from and what we've been through, but also who we are right now in the operating room and where we're going. And to them, I'd like to say, I'm going to quote a good friend and a colleague, a CRNA, who said to me, it is just a difference. It's really simple. You either choose to be a nurse anesthesiologist who happened to be a nurse, or you choose to continue to be a nurse who happened to be an anesthesia provider. And that kind of shook me, just trying to understand that whole fight between who is better.
Right.
It takes only one person to give anesthesia, to give good anesthetic. One. There are at least 3 professions currently after our profession right now, after nurse anesthesiology, right? So we're hearing rumblings of PAs trying to get into the field, specifically in New York. We're hearing, obviously, AAs and our colleagues, and I have nothing bad to say about them, but we have something to discuss.
Mm-hmm. So was there a pivotal moment for you that inspired you to write this book? Usually, whenever we do big things, great things, there's always a story and some reason why you did that.
Yes, it's been a combination of years in being involved in advocacy. Advocacy is my passion. That's something that I love to do, advocating for our profession. It's another way of giving the narrative a different color. And I think witnessing from my leadership experiences, witnessing things that have been going on in the clinical arena as well as in the ANA, made me realize that if just every single one of us will sit down and write the story the way we see it, based on a very strong foundation of history and facts, evidence, then it is no longer going to be a secret in healthcare. Because it's still somehow, somewhere, even with our residents, even with our new CRNAs, even with the CRNAs that have been practicing for some time, that misconception about who was there first, who is the really leading the anesthesia care. And it's not about leading the board in the operating room. It's about making those decisions very early on, historically. And I think we need to highlight that. And not so much, the ancient history, really the history of our profession. We say 150 years. Well, first of all, it's not over 150 years, the Civil War. But why don't we look at the recent history of late 90s, the early 2000s? And I'm sure you can...
I was there.
You can contribute to that.
I was there.
Exactly.
We always talk about the roles and responsibilities, and it's so crazy how in this country it varies state by state, right? You're in New York, correct? And I think a lot of us kids were like, I want to move to New York City one day. And, the thing for me, it was like, it sounds like it's very restricted over there. And of course in New Jersey as well. How are you fighting the good fight over there in New York, and what has that reception been like?
When I was the president of New York State Association of Nurse Anesthetists, I was very vocal about...
You, Yana? No,
not at all. I'm just starting this conversation. Yeah, well, I was really fighting it by speaking the truth. There is really nothing. It is incredibly simple. It is incredibly simple, but yet we try to hide behind this constant need of justification of who we are. When we know our own story, when we know what we bring to the table, when we know where we're coming from and what we can do to improve where we are right now. So it's just speaking the truth. And some people don't like it. I really don't care. And some people accept it and they are inspired. And that's the whole idea, is to inspire others. To write a book like this is to inspire others to tell the truth, from their side of the story, regardless of the state that you practice in. New York still remains to be the only state that is not recognized as an advanced practice provider. We don't have title recognition for CRNAs. It's going to be incredibly hard to get, and yet we still have all these other providers that are heading our way that are trying to take our jobs. Until every single CRNA understands why they did what they did, and they did that, obviously, of course, to become a CRNA and, and to give excellent anesthesia care and provide and learn and do all these wonderful things clinically. but you also did it for your lifestyle, because I always say this, CRNA is just not a profession. It's not a profession, it's a lifestyle. So if you don't protect your lifestyle by understanding.
That is true. But I'll give you a little bit of history. Kevin here graduated 3 days ago.
Yeah, just this month. Yes.
Yeah.
So
congratulations.
he's trying to catch up on some history here. He co-hosts on Grade One View, which is our student-led podcast. New York, CRNAs there are not classified. It's
Just
like
RNs, yeah.
Interesting.
And that's because it's the belly of the beast. And whenever I say the belly of the beast, the ASA says that they began their organization before we did, which is not true.
Right.
The New York Association was in existence. And so they went back and kind of rewrote history and said, no, that's the ASA.
Wow.
And so in their mind, the ASA began in New York City. So they're the belly of the beast for them.
I think the New York chapter for the ASA had started in what, 1920s?
It was late 1920s.
Yeah, because
too
ours
bad.
is late 1920s, literally just a few years apart between, us and
AANA is classified as 1931.
1931, right? So,
But Sandy, too bad she's not in here. She would be able to tell us all the dirty details.
great historian,
Yeah.
So I combined all of that. Plus, to relate to our members, to CRNAs and those interested in our profession, the most recent history, because that's very important. We have a gigantic generational gap right now that we're facing that we need to kind of start filling in. And I think this book does a great job by touching on that important history of 1930s and on, and the first nurse anesthesia school, and filling into the independent practice or opt-out states, current business models, and how we differentiate those state to state. So my passion to advocacy is kind of really, this is a child of that. This is the product of really wanting to tell that truth, to open people's eyes to see it from a different perspective.
What are you doing to promote the book?
Interesting enough, I haven't really done anything with the ANA. I kind of, I did mention something to the foundation, and nothing really came off of that, unfortunately, or not. But I'm doing it on my own a lot. And what I do is high schools, colleges. I have a few opportunities. I'm going to be speaking at Pace University. I'm going to be speaking at a few high schools around, and colleges and nursing schools, which is important to kind of get that going, because this is where it starts. They see us in the operating room, the nurses and those that want to become nurses, and they're like, well, how do I get to that point? And I'm like, oh, well, there's a book. You can read it. So it's all personal to me. I don't really need the fame of it. Yes, it's bringing some income from Amazon. That's wonderful. It's like an appreciation. It's just like, the energy that you receive and the energy that's going out there. I believe in that strongly.
So let's talk about that process real quickly. How do you do that? Let's say Kevin wants to write a book about transitioning to practice.
Yeah. Easy.
Talk about what you did.
So basically, I took a course with KDP. Amazon has a great course that they provide on teaching you how the process works, And then you can pick an editor and throw ideas around your objective, your what you want to talk about and what you want to write about, and you meet with them, and it takes about a year. It does cost some money to do that, because you need professional writers and professional editors to edit your book, and then you just start collecting your research and sending to them, and then you work directly with them. So KDP and Amazon, really, you can really write about anything, and you can sell with them.
Crazy what you can do these days, man.
You can write. You can.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can keep producing books, telling people stories and pretty much about anything. So I found that out. And my first initial goal was to not being afraid to write.
Right.
Because I'm still very reluctant of the whole DNP, and I don't have a DNP. I want to invest into something that I know is going to have a return for me, not only money, but my time that I put in. But this was a perfect opportunity for me to stop being afraid of that.
So when you say KDP, that's what you were saying?
Yeah.
So you go on Amazon and look. What is KDP?
Yeah, KDP, Amazon, and it comes up and it tells you create an account with them. Create an account, and then you can use the editors that they can recommend on there, usually from urban writers or other sites that have professional writers that will work with you on your topic. And then that's how it starts.
So it took a year.
Took a year, about a year, yeah.
And how much time weekly, let's say it took you weekly?
Depending, if I was working, I would say maybe about 20, 30 hours or so. Like
A
I was
week?
putting in. Yeah. Like, just the weekends and everything. And I was
That's
constantly...
a doctorate.
It is. That is a passion project for sure.
Yeah. Just being able to... And this is the process that I love the most, because that's the process of telling the story. Because remember, the editors and the writers that you're working with, they're helping you transition your thoughts onto paper and combine all the research that you provide. Is they don't know who we are.
Sure. And well, they learn at the end.
And then at the end, it's like, oh my God, I did not even know that I just had surgery and the CRNA gave me anesthesia. I actually paid attention.
Like Walter learning with us right now, our
That's-
editor.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Isn't
He
that
does.
amazing?
He learns all the time.
Yeah.
But I just ask all these questions because I've been writing a book for years
Awesome.
on advocacy.
Yes.
And
I'm excited
And
about
it's, I'm a storyteller, so it's told in a storytelling mode, but with tidbits on how to advocate. But I've just not had the time to sit down and finish it, nor did I have any idea about what kind of process. And I had to wait for a while for some of the people that I write about to die.
That's why.
I'm not talking
Nice.
about in the CRNA community. I'm
Sure.
talking about, I was a registered lobbyist for years.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
some of the stories that I have to tell.
Some stories to tell, I tell you.
Yeah,
it's
I had
pretty
to,
inspirational.
Yeah, I had to wait because people would be able to figure out who I was talking about.
Oh, well,
Man.
that I guess directly brings me to my pen name that I had to
Yeah.
choose. Isn't it?
Talk
Isn't
to
that
me
cool?
about that.
That's a cool pen name.
It is.
I got a lot of heat. Not heat. I got a lot. My friends, not to be naming names because they're attending the Congress, but love them dearly. Everybody's like, what? Dr. Ava Hart. Like, where does that come from? Where did you, of course.
Is it Have a Heart and you just made it Ava Heart?
It actually, somebody did write that to me. It's, you can turn it and it sounds like you have a heart.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a heart, even though I can be a really opinionated.
I was gonna say, what?
But
I've never seen that.
she's
No,
never.
I don't believe it.
Ava actually in Hebrew and in English, meaning if you Google it and look at the meaning of it, means to breathe, the spirit, to tell the truth, the freedom of the voice. And surprisingly, that when I picked that, just like I want something interesting, I told my husband and I said, "What do you think, Ava Hart?" Like, And then I looked it up and I was like, I can't believe it. It just kind of fell into my lap like that. Like that's the freedom of the heart, so freedom of speech.
Did you wake up? You know how people say they wake up and all of a sudden the idea just came to them.
No, I was actually searching. Believe it or not, I did use GPT for that a little bit. I just wanted to come up with some ideas. So I was like, what would be interesting?
I love GPT,
And then
I
there's-
hate it
amazing.
too.
And
I hate it
love
too.
it's
I'm-
amazing.
it's
It's very
amazing.
addictive, amazing, and some ideas absolutely to use it for. It's phenomenal. But for the name, I used it, and the heart came with some other names. But then I saw Ava with some other last name, and then the heart, and I was like, oh my God, Ava Hart. And then I Googled because Ava is just such a biblical name, and in biblical, it means to breathe, which is like hello, meant to be.
It goes with our profession.
Yeah,
too.
and I use the doctor only because I don't have one, so why not to use it for the book? She works with CRNAs.
Did you not want to have Yana Krmic on it for a reason?
For those of you that graduated recently, I tell you, it does create a little bit of a turmoil.
Sure.
Because some physician anesthesiologists did pick up a book, even though they're friends, and they read it. They did not give me a cultural, but they will have questions.
I see. Yeah.
But not that it's going to cause me any issues now. I mean, I practice independently pretty much everywhere I go. I mean, and I can fight it. I mean, freedom of the speech, right? Ava Hart. We should be able to speak freely in the world that we're living in.
Exactly.
Are you a resident or CRNA looking to transition into independent practice? Introducing the 1099 CRNA Institute, taught by Beyond the Mask host Jeremy Stanley and Sharon Pierce. This comprehensive educational series provides detailed guidance on business structure, legal and tax implications, and financial management tailored specifically for 1099 CRNAs. Enroll now and earn valuable continuing education credits as you chart a new course in your rewarding career. Remember, that's aana.com/1099 or click the link in the description of today's show.
let's talk about the book just a little bit more. And how does it challenge traditional perceptions of leadership in anesthesia care? This should be interesting.
Yeah.
And I have bought the book. I have just not had time to read it yet. And I know you sent it to me before you were finally published, and I read a little bit of it then.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. I sent you the abstract, the final touches on it. Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Who is really providing anesthesia care? It takes one person. It does not take a team. I don't believe that. If there is a team, fine. The recognition needs to be given to the ones that actually make decisions. And we're talking about immediate decisions in the operating room. When there is minutes, the seconds count. And when those seconds count, the CRNA who's at the head of the table, not another provider or an anesthesiologist who is in the next room, who's in the lounge, let's tell the truth about the fact that in most our medically directed anesthesia care team models, there is a fraudulent practices that are happening.
All the time.
That preventing us to tell the story, and meaning to make those decisions in an administrative level that could potentially save our healthcare a lot of money.
You know, the ASA put out a campaign whenever I was AANA president, talking about when seconds count.
I was thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so whenever I would get interviewed, I would say, when seconds count, they're minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Perfect. Yeah.
Because that is the reality. That is the reality. But again, I think we've discussed this earlier today. It's not that any of us are anti-anesthesiologists. We're just pro-CRNA. We are promoting our practice and our role and our piece of this healthcare continuum. And the reality is none of us practice in a vacuum. Sometimes you do need an extra set of hands. I don't care.
Can be a CRNA.
It could be another CRNA. And I've worked with some nurses that I'd take over another
absolutely.
CRNA.
Thank you. Yes, thank
some
you.
circulator nurses.
100%.
That could be my other set of hands.
And for those of the, I want to add that for the administration, for the administrators, the hospital administration, this is a perfect opportunity to open up that conversation. Why do we have 4 anesthesia providers sitting in the lounge and the rest are working in the ORs when you can't stop? You keep saying you cannot stop the operating room. Well, you have anesthesia providers sitting in the lounge, unnecessary supervising, never showing up for induction, never showing up for emergence, never showing up for any critical care of the case or whatever the 7 tough regulations. We can keep going on and on about it.
then billing for it.
And the billing for it. I literally just had that conversation with somebody, one of the anesthesia groups, and I'm like, well, you leaving money on the table here.
Did you start in an ACT kind of model and transition? Can you tell us about that transition a little bit and how you kind of got out of it?
Yeah, I'm not going to name groups because we're Congress, but yes, I did. I started out in a very large anesthesia care team model kind of group, and I would say maybe not even 3 weeks into it, I was crying and realizing that I made a big mistake. You just either know it or you don't. It depends on the kind of personality you are and the kind of CRNA that you want to be, right? Do you want to be a CRNA that happens to have a nursing degree, or a nurse that's just going to give anesthesia? I chose the first one.
I think your training really sets that foundation, because was your training different than that place that you went to?
Yeah, but you also need to wanting to produce an independent thought. You have to be able to do that and make those decisions that I do right now, working independently in this bloody, I work in a dental practice it's a full mouth, it's a major oral surgery.
Yeah, it's intense.
Patients are sick because most of them are smokers, and I'm making those decisions together with oral surgeons, and we rely on each other, and I am capable of making that. My fear is that we are entering the time that we're perhaps not graduating those nurse anesthetists that are able to produce an independent thinking, or not inspiring them enough to wanting to do that.
Well, I'm going to push back just a little bit on that. I think that can be a regional type of thing. Where I work at near a huge metropolitan area, I think a lot of CRNAs are used to the ACT environment, haven't been exposed to other environments. But I do tell you that the schools that I teach with, they send them to rural practices. And I don't know, these kids are super smart. And I look at them sometimes and I think, God, could I get in an anesthesia school now? Because they are so smart. But I do think that portion of it is very regionalized.
what we need to start looking at, Sharon, I think, is a diversity of experience.
Oh, yeah.
These nurses bring to the table, diversity of thought. And I'm emphasizing diversity because that is what we need to be looking at.
And I will tell you, too, we interviewed Erin Martin and from the Mayo.
Mayo, yep.
And she did a podcast on something that I never thought about. But the kids, and I say kids, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I understand that they are full-grown adults, but they're kids in this profession. I think they'll change what our profession looks like. Number one, they were all in ICUs during COVID. So they are used to being flexible and changing. Most CRNAs are not very good at that. So they will be flexible. The other thing is we came from an era where it's work, even though you have also perfected play.
That's personal choice.
Because you're smart. Whereas I never really did that. Everything was work. And now the ones coming up in the profession are, I need my time for my health, my wellness, my family, etc. For instance, my son-in-law and my daughter, when they're giving a bath to my granddaughter, they're both giving her a bath. They're both engaged, and it looks different. So I think it's going to be good for the profession.
I 100% believe
and it's
that.
going to. I just think it's going to be good for the profession going forward because they won't put up with crap we put up with.
Exactly, yeah. And look at this Congress alone. We're hearing that large number of attendance. This is a perfect opportunity, this Congress, to educate, to really show nurses and those advanced practice nurses that are attending this meeting to who we are. This is a perfect opportunity.
So I hear you talking about the book, and we know that in medicine, the patriarchy is alive and well. Does Dr. Ava Hart address any of this in the book?
Yeah, it just kind of shines the light towards the end. Really an opportunity of getting away from that. That is not about, who's making that decision overall, who's in charge, but who is really making decisions immediately with the patient in the operating room on the table, and who was there first. I mean, we can argue that all we want back and forth, but the historical facts remain historical facts. We can look at the archives, and I've looked at it, not the archives itself in Chicago, but the archives as far as our publications, starting with Watchful Care and starting with all the writings that Agatha did and the CRNAs before her. The truth is in the history and the facts, and taking that into consideration and the most recent developments that are happening. The patriarchy it's no longer alive in my.
Well, it's alive.
Well, it's alive. It's
alive.
Slowly,
we're trying to kill it.
We're trying.
Yeah,
we're trying to kill it.
If every CRNA today will sit down and decide to write a book, to write the story from their experiences, can you imagine what we can accomplish?
We did a podcast on who gave anesthesia first, and we did it because the ASA put out a whole series on who gave it first. And so, of course, Sandy went back and researched it, and she ended the whole podcast with something pretty startling. Who did give the first anesthetic?
A dentist?
God. And
Yeah.
God put a sleep on Adam so that they could get the rib to
Isn't
make
that amazing?
Eve.
She surprises me every time she opens her mouth and speaks her truth.
Yeah.
But that's true. I mean, you're right.
He gave the first anesthetic. So
It's an interesting way to look at it.
So
That
about
really
that.
caught me off guard right there. I'm not going to lie to you.
I know, it was a dentist, yeah.
William T. Morton or something, right? Like what?
This is whenever I wish we did film this
Yeah.
because your eyes
Yeah, I
were
was like,
like,
what?
Wait, what?
It's like I don't know what to do with that.
But not to discourage other CRNAs and working with their physician anesthesiologist. I think there are some things that we need to be putting forces together on.
Yes. Well, we taped that podcast earlier.
100%.
Earlier this morning too.
And we'll be much, much stronger in numbers without bringing other professions into it.
So as we kind of wrap this up, what would you like to tell our audience as Yana? And what would you like to tell our audience as Dr. Ava Hart?
Speak the truth. I always I always believe in speaking your own truth. As Yana or as Dr. Ava Hart, find the way to educate others on not only the profession, but the way you see it, the kind of clinician, the kind of advocate that you are for yourself, number one, and then for your profession, because that's going to highlight pretty much everything else. And I'm gonna close out with that phenomenal just idea and that somebody said to me. What kind of anesthesia provider are you choosing to be? Are you a CRNA, nurse anesthesiologist, nurse anesthetist, whatever, that happened to be a nurse with a nursing degree, DNP, PhD, we can go on and on. Or you are a nurse that happened just to be an anesthesia provider? Important. I was blown away by that.
So, Kevin, as somebody who just finished
Yes.
2-3 days ago, left anesthesia school 2 to 3 days
Congrats.
ago.
Yes.
Tell us what your thoughts are regarding the conversation that we just had.
Well, I think a lot of us don't realize how political this profession is. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And also, it's reassuring to see that there are people fighting for our profession. And it does inspire, I think, us and any other residents listening to the torch is going to be passed on to us eventually, and we got to be ready for it, because it doesn't sound like these political issues and, historical debates are going to stop anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, my director, Sandy Marie Ouellette, tells us all the time we all drink from wells we did not dig. And I'm drinking from wells I didn't dig. Yana's drinking from wells she did not dig.
She dug that one.
Well, I may have dug a one or two along the way in all these years. But Yana, thank you for joining us again. Thank you for everything that you're doing for the community. And listeners, if you would like to read her book, it is called Who Really Leads Anesthesia Care by Dr. Ava Hart, and it can be found on Amazon, and you can click just like I did and get your book. And if you ever run across Yana at a meeting, the tall Russian beauty that my son absolutely adores, my 40-year-old son adores, she'll be happy to sign your
100%.
book.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Mask. If you enjoy the show and want to help us grow, the best way to support us is simple. Leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, share the show on social media, and tell your friends. Your word of mouth is what keeps us going strong. We're proud to consistently rank in the top 50 medical podcasts nationwide and to be #1 in the CRNA community. All thanks to listeners like you. Your support helps us stay there, and we couldn't do it without you. We'll see you on the next Beyond the Mask.